Thank you all for joining with us. We move on to the final session of the second edition of CI SummitFx 2021. Joining with us today are some distinguished stalwarts from across India and abroad, sharing with the participants their thoughts on how, as industry, we can support the upcoming smaller studios. Moderating this session is Mr. Praveen Kilaru. He's the VFX producer, Digital Domain 3.0. Mr. Madhav Reddy Yatham, founder and chairperson, Rotomaker Group. Mr. Junaid Ullah, he's the film director, co-founder, Belva Design Consultants. Mr. Anup AK, founder and chief pipeline architect, Code CG. Mr. Ranjit Gosavi, VFX compositing and 3D head, Pixstone Images Chennai. And Mr. Mangesh Palkrit, VFX supervisor, Legend 3D. I hand over the podium to Mr. Praveen, please.
So thank you. So thanks, Karan. Thanks for the introduction. So I would like to welcome all the panelists for taking their time, and I'd like to thank CA for organizing this event. So pretty privileged to host this event. So as just mentioned, I'm Praveen. I'm a VFX producer at Digital Domain here. So before I go forward, I would like each of you to have a quick round of introduction on what I'm a little more in depth of what exactly you do and you've been working on. So I will start out with Mr. Junaid.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Junaid. I'm primarily a VFX supervisor for last, been in the industry for last 12 years. My journey has been very interesting, starting from theater, storytelling, and then I was really fascinated with films and, especially fantasy films. So I got into visual effects, and it has been a very, very interesting journey that to be a part of films like Bahubali, Robo, or, Bhag Milka Bhag, Puli Murugan. And then last 3 years, I've set up my own company called Bilva, where we are working more on, real-time post-production, real-time, rendering and title animations a lot, because I felt that was a real need for the time. So right now we are working more on the real-time post-productions and building a new pipelines rather than going with the typical VFX pipelines. And I'm really excited to be part of this discussion. And I've been last time also when I discussed, it was about VFX democratization and how small studios will be coming up with a lot of different ideas.
Thank you, Junaid. So can we move on to Mr. Ranjit?
Yeah, hi everyone. Myself, Ranjit Gosavi. I am CG and compositing head at Pixstone Images. And I hope all of you are doing well in this tough time in the new normal. And yeah, so I've been working in this industry for last 19 years now, and I work with most of the Indian VFX studios, and right now I'm heading the 3D and compositing department as a VFX supervisor. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Ranjit. Welcome on board. So let's move on to Mr. Mangesh. You're on mute, Mangesh.
Yeah, hope everybody can listen me loud and clear. So yeah, hi everybody, this is Mangesh, and I'm in this industry for last 18 to 19 years down the line. Basically, even my journey was a little fascinating because I started as in a smaller studio as a modeler, and now grown up to I've worked with Ranjit when in RMW. It was a fun. So the journey was quite fascinating, and currently I'm working with Legend 3D as a VFX supervisor. In the meanwhile, I've got an opportunity to work outside India and with their projects also on a different verticals altogether, like post-production or virtual production too. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mangesh. Thank you. So I'd like to welcome Mike on board. So Mike is pretty popular, but I would like him to have a quick introduction. Mike, can you hear us? You're on mute, Mike.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's bad. We have been, as a automaker, is almost 14 years in the industry. We cater roto, paint, matchmo, compositing, and automation services for Hollywood clients. We have been working for more than, I think, last 14 years, we have worked more than 1,700 movies, for Hollywood. And that's all. We are very much. We also have 10 training centers like Arena Animation, 3 in India, so 3 in Hyderabad, Arena Animation, and Mac Animation and Rotomaker Academies. We train our own people and hire to a company. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you, and welcome on board. Let's move on to Anup. Anup has been my colleague for a long time, but I would like him to introduce himself quickly.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank CII for inviting me to be part of the panel. I'm Anup. I've been working as a founder of Code CG, which is actually a technology solutions provider for studios of all sizes, small as well as large enterprises. And I also play the role of pipeline supervisor at Tower Films, which is based out of Hyderabad. And we have offices in Malaysia as well as Los Angeles. And I also play the parallel role of a technology advisor for John Hughes Institute, which is actually an international institute based out of LA for training for visual effects and animation. Before joining Tower Films, I was part of Rhythm & Hue Studios as well as DreamWorks Animation. And I've been in this industry for almost last 15 years, mostly playing the technology supervisor or pipeline architect role for the last couple of years. So yeah, that's been my journey.
Okay, thanks, Anup. Welcome on board. So I think that's pretty much all the guests here. So thank you all for joining and taking the time. So I would like to get into the topic. So the topic here we are discussing here is how to support the small studios in India, specific to VFX and animation. So this is an interesting topic because it's definitely been one of the major points of discussion on growing the small and medium-sized studios. So I would like to actually start off with Anup himself to actually talk a little bit about what are the main challenges that generally a small or a medium-sized studios come up with. Or, you have kind of worked with certain startups and especially Tao when it started up. So can you just give us a brief about what are the kind of challenges generally any studio faces?
Got it. So I would kind of like to classify it into 2 sections. One is the technology side of stuff. The other is the talent pool. So coming to the technology, like the starting up cost. So if we are talking about a brand new studio setting up, then the capex cost, which is actually the biggest letdown for a lot of companies, because especially if you're looking for investors, the huge capex actually is a letdown for getting the right people to be partnering with you. So that has been one of the biggest challenges. The second thing is, like, right now, the other options available for people are either you go for a refurbished set of machines or you go for rental. So all of these kind of like delays your initial setup, like, because most of the companies start off when they have some project already near to signing up and they are in talks with the clients and they want to like immediately start up. That's one stage. The second one is where you are still bootstrapping. You want to decide which vertical you want to serve. So you're coming together with a very small pool of people and trying to build that one. So in either of these cases, I believe that like the capex cost and the lack of concessions on that front has been a biggest bottleneck for a lot of companies, because right now, as a technology solutions provider, we work closely with studios which are about to start up or in the phase of like already been in operation for a year or maybe year and a half, and they want to scale up. So in all these phases, they encounter the same technology challenges. The other thing has been in terms of software, where there is no better pricing structure based on revenue. If you look at it, because there are certain softwares which provide you based on your revenue. You could have, like, it's a revenue sharing model. But if you look at the commercial, the traditional visual effects production, all of the softwares have one price fits all solution. So unless you are going for like a big number, even the vendors are not able to provide you the competitive cost. So this actually spikes up your first year cost like ridiculously high, and that kind of becomes a very big issue for a lot of budding studios. And coming to the training part, what I've noticed is that when you want to like get the right people, especially when you're starting up, you're against big league companies who have like long list of credits of executing bigger shows, and that being in the same pool of talent, I mean, trying to like fish from the same talent pool and getting the right people on board has been very challenging. So most people, what ended recruiting is either you look for the people who are right out of academies and then spend on the training, which again spikes up your cost during the initial days. Or the other thing is that you go for a compromise in terms of the talent pool. So I think these are two things which always has come up in terms of conversation, where how do you find the right technology talent pool to kind of get started off with? And what is my CapEx right now in terms of starting my own company? So I would like to kind of highlight these two as the primary things that has come up very often.
Cool, cool. Thanks, Anup. Actually, good that you pointed about the technology, but the very other important thing which you had touched upon is finding the talent. So I would like Mike to put through us some his point of view, especially the talent. How do you find talent for small studios, and what is the best way to come across these challenges?
Yeah, talent is something, as Anu said, it's very important. If you look at a superstore, there are a lot of groceries, You see products and everything. Something is stolen or something is gone. You can see practically something is lost. But in a talent, if you don't have right talent, you can't utilize them. You're wasting time. You're losing money. So it's here you don't there you see product is missing. Somebody takes the product. Somebody robs the product. You lose the product. Here somebody is not working. You're losing time. It's as good as you're wasting your time. So talent is important, and how to utilize talent is also important. So especially with startup companies, they should have like 50% of good talent and 50% of freshers. Somewhere parallelly they can take off, or else it's going to be too high for them to maintain the expenses. Because if there's no work, it's going to be a burden for them. To maintain that kind of highly paid people. If there's no work, if the work is there, it's fine. But in this industry, VFX industry, especially if you're doing for international clients, I've seen 8 months we are busy. Now December, January we are slow. In June, July we are slow because of the school season and because of the Christmas. So 8-9 months we are busy, and 3 to 4 months we are slow. So the slow time is where we end up paying whatever margins we make money, we lose money in the slow time. But if you want a full time, then you have to maintain that. So that's why what we do is that we have 10 training academies like Arena, Maidipatnam, Dilshanagar, and Amirpet. We have Mac Animation, we have Rotomaker academies. So with this training, at least we train every year 500 to 1,000 people every year. So because now if you look at the roto artist, paint artist, 3-4 years roto or paint artist is technically paid between 40 to 50,000 a salary in the market. A 3D artist is also sometimes paid 30 to 40, but roto artists are highly paid, especially for the roto artists, paint artists who are working for international projects. They're highly paid than the CG artists. The reason is there's demand. So we need to produce a lot of, we need to create a lot of, freshers. There's so much demand now. Once you have surplus people, then the cost will come down. Then people work for 25, 30,000. So if you're not creating or producing more people, or training more people, then your cost is going to go up. So it should be balanced, and it should be, that's why I say 50% you take freshers and train them, 50% senior people. That's a perfect combination for a startup company or existing company. If you keep on hiring from other companies, okay, you'll get paid, but your cost will keep on going. When there's slow time, you lose a lot of money. I've seen a lot of companies, startup companies, they open and they close in 1 year or 2 years. This is one of the reasons, because of talent pool. Because somebody else offers like 5,000 or 10,000 more, they jump to other companies. So, yeah, that's all. Yeah, so your talent pool is very important. And the startup companies, this business, you need to 8-9 months. You should be planned with enough resources. If you 2-3 months, it will slow down. So you need to be planned for at least working capital for at least 1 year, or 6 months, so that the slow time. I've seen a lot of studios have closing down because when it's slow, they can't maintain the salaries. They close it down. And especially if you're working for international projects, don't outsource to people outside. So it might be okay now, but at some point of stage, those people will take the footage and put in a show reel, and you never know, it might go to the client. So you'll be in big problem. You'll have a lawsuit or something. So be careful in outsourcing to other people. Whatever, try to get freelancers, get it done at your place, especially with international projects. That's very important, because if clients to come to know, these guys, what they do, people who are outsourcing outside, they will take the footage and try to put on YouTube or showreel. And this, nowadays audits are going up. Suddenly they check it, it's going to be a big problem. We have seen studios who are closed for sending outsourcing work. So whatever work, try to maintain within the facility and be a planned way in the financially and with the artists. That will help for the startup companies. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Junaid, you have definitely your view to share. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it was like I agree with both Mike sir and Anup in the technical part and business part of it. And what I have means my because I am coming from a small studio startup and looking at everything, my purview of looking at the things is different. I'm looking at the things from the IP point of view, or creating some my own storytelling point of view, not about creating a 100-member team from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. That is a lot of confusion there, because am I want to create a body shop, or am I want to be building a IP with the expression? And building an IP with expression is a lot of very different attitude it comes, because it's like filmmaking. You have to build a studio which is an environment where the ideas are catered, where the people understand the weakness, where the a lot of things are the environment of a IP making studio is totally different from a proper production house. It is a production house where every Monday counts, every hours counts. In creative, when you are trying to build an IP, when you are trying to collaborate with a very creative people, their understanding is totally different. And when you are going to collaborate with the creative people with a brand, then their egos and the whole thing, the sensitivities are always different. So what I've seen is a lot of VFX studios tend to move towards building a body shop, or building a customer centric and whole of the what do you call this? Looking at the VFX as a part of filmmaking. Right now I am in confused state. How do I cater this my idea of building a IP content? Because I was having a meeting with a very esteemed big studio other day, and I told him, you have a 500 acres of land, and what is the revenue you are earning and the whole thing. So they were telling me, okay, this. They are like getting X amount. But you see, there is a 200-member team in Hyderabad which produces IP. They struggled for 10 years, but their income now is 3x or 4x to the 500 acres of studio land. And the kind of name, see, you need to take a decision. What is your credibility that will stay after you leave the thing? Are you looking at the immediate resource, immediate money gaining, or there is a storytelling? There is a because the technology is changing. There is a you can leave a stamp on the storytelling, visual art, and what kind of thing you think? Because it's a very tough question to ask, because we are looking at the VFX from different perspectives. So for me, that is the first question for small studios. Second is, where is the project coming from? You see, either it is coming from ads or from the films. Films will not trust small studios because of the data security, or will they deliver the thing or whatever. And the ads are going towards heavy pressure, and they go to big studios which are already reputed. But now, because of the real time, you will be surprised. A small team of 4 to 5 people in Hyderabad delivered the entire title sequence which has just released last week on 27th, and we could deliver with 4 to 5 member team with Unreal Engine. And I was pushing blindly with the trust that we can do it. We can do it. If you could have gone into regular pipeline, I'm sure we could have not delivered it. And with that, now I am doing a feature film 3 minutes title sequence, which any studio would say this will take like, I don't know, 8 months with 50 people, but I am willing to take a chance to work with 6 member team. So I am trying to, gel up with to build a team which is, future technology centric and also expression centric, design centric, not looking at the shots like, okay, I have to finish up the job. I'm not looking at the finish up. So when we start up the project or when we discuss a lot about storytelling and design. So I feel, I don't know how we will be slowly moving towards the IP and build our own IP or cater to the thing. That is where we are looking at. And I feel the future of small studios will be very bright because of the technologies that are coming. There will be indigenous art forms that will be coming out because now you don't need a lot of pipelines. I have 3 people who are fresh out of the college. In 3 months, they were able to crack all the pipelines and they delivered it. So I am looking at, I'm very excited about the small studios, how they will be producing IPs, because IPs will be with OTT platforms, IPs will be the greatest grab with, Corona and this thing. It will boom in next 4 to 5 years. Now, I don't think in next 2 to 3 years, but in 4 to 5 years, there will be a lot of opportunities that will come.
Thanks, Junaid. So I would like Mangesh to just throw in the light on exactly what are the general challenges that any small or startup companies face. So Mangesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, I actually agree to Mr. Mike, Anup, and Junaid. See, there is a simple phrase in business terms that a right person on a right chair, right? So that drives the complete show altogether. But there is one more challenge which usually a small scale studio or probably a group of people who wish to start up their production studio is the technology, the machines, the infrastructure. Now, most of the time, the people think, okay, I want to save a little bit of money, so that's why they invest in some kind of machines where they happen to find it in cheap way, or probably they just try to downgrade their own configuration of the machines just to save some sort of money. And basically, so doing that is, a kind of hurdles those guys are producing for themselves, because in the future terms, if the work is going to come on really on a heavy load, so that machine may not be able to accommodate all those pressure, like rendering, or if somebody wants to shift into Unreal Engine or so. So this phrase has to be like has to be there for the machinery also, for the infrastructure also. So this is one thing, and yeah, that's what precisely I think. Rest of the thing, it has been already explained by Anup, by Junaid, and by Mike sir already.
Okay, thank you, Mangesh. So I would like Ranjit, being a VFX supervisor and a comp supervisor. So what are the things, you have noticed generally kind of challenges a small or as a startup studio faces?
Yeah, so as Mangesh rightly said, everyone has connected dots in terms of what all challenges they face. In my understanding, the first and foremost thing that every business should decide is their vision. First of all, they need to know what they are getting into and how they are getting into. Most of the businesses here in visual effects or animation, gaming, comics, all of these sectors, the owners, the startup happens with certain creative peoples who have the willingness to make their name or fame in this industry. They want to become one of the leader in this industry, and that's where the creative people come into the picture. Like Junaid started the business as he is a VFX supervisor, and he started the business in this industry. So what happens is most of the creative people do not have a business background. Yeah. So first of all, they need to fix their vision as to what they are getting into. They need to understand all the advancements in the technology that are there, which advancements are really going to support them to really cut down their costs, and at the same time understand the balance sheet, understand the management point of view, get people for management understanding their balance sheets, understanding their uh, business closely. How to accurately bid is very important, because with the fixed bid, you might have seen the ex biggest company in the world. At one side they got Oscar, and at the other side, on the same week, they were bankrupt. So what I'm saying is, first of all, you need to understand the balance sheet. You need to understand the way this business really functions. Because if you're working on multiple versions of the same creative tasks, and your bid is not as accurate as it needs to be, then you will be in loss, in just interest of your client to make them happy. You will not be able to profit well. So you need to understand the business vision, and you need to have very good accounting, and you need to have very good understanding of everything that goes into that business. So understanding all the softwares, as Anup rightly said, which software we should utilize in the production. If you are going for your own production, there might be people who are willing to make their own CG film. That's where they can start with some softwares like Blender. Blender is really good for animation and creating everything in that. So there are many open source software they support for this thing. Unreal Engine with a basic support of motion capture can lead you to a very fantastic operation, wherein you can Junaid shared his experience with Unreal Engine, that only 4 or 5 people can do wonders with it. So we need to they need to really analyze what they are going to do, how they are going to do, and then invest properly. The investors are ready to invest. They will just see, okay, if someone is not from this business, they will only understand, okay, this is Hollywood business or Bollywood or Tollywood business, and I would really like to have my name as a producer on that film. Yeah, and they will invest blindly. But whether you are really capable of handling that business, and whether you're really capable of handling all the financial aspects of the business is very important. And that's where, when a creative person is getting into the business, first of all, he should get some guidance from some good management gurus in this field. That's the main key, I believe. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for all your inputs. So, I mean, while we talked about the challenges, I really want to get into the kind of an advantages of, I mean, if I still, does it necessarily need to be that I have to always be big? Is it possible that I can still be small, have the same margins, still able to deliver the high quality work probably which other big studios are doing? And if that is possible, what are the things I need to watch out for, or what is the care I need to take? So I would start up again. I'll go in the same round. So Anup, please go ahead.
Sure. So there are a couple of things. I mean, this is not just about VFX, but as a studio that takes a work from client, or as an entity that takes external work, you have to always have the courage to say no at times. That is very important, because this is a classic problem where you initially start off with a vision, like as everyone else said, the problem here is that when we start as creatives, it's a very common thing that, okay, right now we are focusing on the output, right? But slowly the reality sinks in terms of, like, you have to manage your cash flow and as well as everything else. And that's when the saying no part becomes very difficult, because you want to make sure that there is something in the pipeline which makes sure that there is steady cash flow and your employees are happy about it. So this is a balancing act for every other studio and every other organization. So that's something which we need to be very careful about. But the other thing is also that when it comes to like getting the right tools for the right moment, right? So there are times when we are there's definitely need for a vision in terms of what you want to do in the coming next 2 to 3 years. But last 2 years has taught us that things can be totally volatile, right? We need to be adaptable, like flexible. So if you're building a team, definitely the traditional approach has been that you have each department's focusing on respective skills, and they collectively produce something. But it's very important to have two key things which are generalist, and the second thing is having adaptable technology. Because most of the time what happens is that when you're looking at a talent pool, like there's some leadership in a specific department who leaves for X number of reasons, and pretty much every studio encountered that last year, where they could not retain the best talent because of the cash flow problems, right? And this is where I believe that journalists can fill in, can be the support structure for the organization, but at the same time being lean and flexible. When I say flexible, don't invest all your time and effort. Like the saying goes, don't put all your eggs in the same basket. You would be using specific softwares which does get your job done, but it's very important to make sure that, as Ranjit mentioned, we should be exploring outside the current domain. If last decade you have been using something, don't stick to it just because you have a forte in that. That's not the way the industry works, because we have seen it in the last 2-3 years that the players which started pretty late, but the fact that they had technology advancements gave them a catapult leap into the future in terms of what they could execute. And I would totally agree to what Junaid mentioned in terms of, if you take the right mix of components, and this is not a rocket science. Everyone knows this thing, that if you work out the dynamics of an organization and you want to decide like, hey, this is the scale I'm going to stick to, you have to draw a threshold for you. And that defines your yes or no in the bidding room, right? Because unless that is defined for you, it's always tempting to just walk out of the room telling like, oh, I got this bid, now let me figure out how to execute, right? So these are two different things I think every organization runs into during the initial phase. And as part of a technology provider, we have run into this similar conversation. Everyone, when approaches us for technology solutions, the question is like, does it future-proof us for the next 5 years? And I give them the very frank reply that there is no such stuff as 5 years future-proofing in this industry, because things are changing dynamically. There is a lot of infusion of AI-related products into the market. And the same applies for no-code solution. You're not really looking at a large software development teams or developing software for even the smallest company. So the general advice would be that you don't need to really think about next 5 years. You definitely need to have a vision, but you don't need to have an execution plan for 5 years, because that normally will totally throw you off the roof if you are always going to stick to that. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Anup. So I'll move on to Junaid. So yeah, Junaid, the same questions. Do I really need to always be big and to make the margins, or have have the satisfaction of doing a good job, or a really doing awesome job? So can you just throw light on that?
Yeah, so I will start with a transition phase that happened between analog camera to digital camera. It is a very interesting thought to understand. What happened is, when digital camera came, it took 2 to 3 years actually to come into film industry, because a lot of rigidity was there. A lot of people said, cameramen said, hey, that is not at all near to what they wanted. Film only, they wanted to go to lab only, they wanted that touch of the chemical only, then only it will get, like everybody feels that they are no longer. Okay, at the end of the day, it is not that, right? It took 3 years. The cameras were lying there. Some of the filmmakers were trying it out and everything. I think VFX industry also, I feel, is going through the similar phase. It is outdated in sense of, there is large, huge, technology platforms who are putting their technology inside the VFX companies. They're huge. I cannot name them, but there are free softwares that are coming. The only thing is, that's why I hired 3 people who are new. They don't know anything about this. I told them, just learn this and try to see technically we can deliver the right quality or not. If they had the prior knowledge, they would have just said no. Because I have seen for 10 years how the compositors, how the lighting artists, how the matte artists, they go mad about the certain things which are like nowhere connected to future. So I feel the future is dynamically small teams which understand what is expression, what is culture, what is ethnic color culture. Now we all understand blue from Marvel, DC, all. What is color culture of blue in, say, some Khajuraho temple brown? Nobody understands, because they think brown is something different. So I think I'll give you an example of Anand Gandhi, who has done Ship of Thesis or Tumbad, and they have come up with a men's culture lab. I think that culture will come with the small teams, which will be better execution, better expressive, using different technologies. And I think second is VFX is going to become mainstream. VFX is going to be becoming set art, not the what you call a studio art, because the real time post production I saw that slowly they will be pushed into real time shooting. Why will whole of the set will go into the studio and do it? There are hiccups, but it's a transitional technology. Once that is cracked, green screen, like somebody was rightly saying, it is going to crack. After a point, that blur, that black line, that whole thing will be going to crack. AI will crack it. So then tracking will get cracked. So what will happen? You will use real-time post-production for, obviously. I was surprised that already two Telugu films have shot their mainstream film songs for the promotions in LEDs, which I was like totally shocked. Oh, they take the step, and because putting up a set, what is the cost? The cost of setting up the set, studio, and everything is huge. So I feel small studios with a dynamic journalist, what Anup said, and looking at the only thing is the way we will work with the, if you are looking at VFX as a your business, how do you cater to local industry in a big way? And if you want to build an IP, how do you cater to what is the kind of IP you want to build? What is the kind of design you want to build? What is the kind of storytelling you want to build? That will be a challenge to build in. That is what I feel. But I feel there will be a lot of, I was talking to one FX artist today morning. I was like totally surprised. He just came out of the college from a small town. And I told him, why don't you join us? 3 months we'll see as an intern. He said, sir, sorry, I will do freelancing. I want to start up my own studio. I was like, you're an FX artist. You have one laptop. And how are you daring to tell that one? I never dreamt of it. He said, no, sir. I have a 3-4 member team. We are friends. We want to do this and we will do it. And his reel is amazing. That's why I reached out from LinkedIn for my next project. If he will be able, he said, no, I want to do it. So that kind of confidence, how is it coming? How, from where it is coming? If you see, I have worked with a lot of industry, legends, and after a point, everything, direction or art direction or VFX supervision, they become boxed into certain kind of thing. But it has to be broken, and new people will break in a many different ways. Is what I feel.
Yeah. So, Junaid, thank you on that. So, I would like to move on to the next thing to Mike. So, Mike, kind of considering the time, I just wanted to ask you, like, is there, especially for small and medium studios, is it required, mandatory for, especially in a country like India, how much of the support from the CEOs?
Yeah. So basically, a small and
what kind of support would be helpful for these kind of studios?
Yeah. So basically, when we have here, when we say small, most of the local, companies who are catering, for Telugu industry or Tollywood, Tamil industry or Bombay industry, they are small, because big studios, the problem with smaller studios and new startup companies is that, especially I've seen in VFX industry in the South, especially, what happens is, right, they kill each other. I'll tell you how. Because a guy we started, for example, we start a VFX facility. The guy, we keep a VFX supervisor. He keeps going for shootings. He builds a rapport with the director, producer. After 6 months, 1 year, he opens one more studio with the rapport of that. So they try to kill each other. So this is not a healthy competition, So what happened, like any studio, anybody wants to build a studio and create employment for a lot of people. So, end of the day, what happens, right? This guy goes, does the project and he's not getting paid. And this guy also has to lower his price. And this industry, especially local industry, is very bad paymasters. Most of the people, I would say, I think 50 to 70% are facing problems with the clients, either discounting or not paying. So end of the day, we end up working free for the client or giving 50%, you don't make money. So it's not, I've last 10, 15 years, I didn't see any VFX studio really making money, including Rotomaker. Rotomaker, we don't make money. So because, I have other business like, I have Smiley Kiddos, I have real estate. I have a passion in Rotomaker. That's why I invest from other business. But VFX business, I've seen hardly very few people, unless if you go public issue something, but very less companies have seen making money. When it comes to international, the problem is that the cost, if in India, I think 5 6 years will be the international market. After that, it's going to reduce the market, because before, like 5 to 6 years, 10 years back, I started working for international studios 15 years back. Those days there was a difference. When we pay a salary for one person in US, we can hire 3 or 4 people here. The kind of thing, 4 or 5 people. So used to save one third or one fourth. Now it's getting slowly as 50%, because the cost of those days I used to get a roto artist for 10 to 12,000 or 15,000 senior artist, but now I have to pay 50 60,000 for a senior artist. So in Hollywood you can pay have one lakh or you can have it. So $2,000, $2,500. If in US or Canada, Mexico, I can have a team. So after 5 6 years, if every year, our what do you call, inflation rate is 8 to 10%. So if this is the kind of salaries we are increasing for the VFX artists, so after some like 8 to 4 5 years, we will paying 75,000 to 1 lakh for a roto artist. So it's better, we have started facilities in Mexico or some European countries, or where, some places where the cost of labor is cheaper. So the VFX will be moving out slowly after 5 6 years. It won't be long, because this kind of, unless you have a pipeline to make it cost cutting effective way, or it's going to be very tough. Because once you reach your cost of living is next 5 years is going to be double the price. It matches 70% of Mexico or Canada, so it is gone. The business is gone. That's one of the things. We need to be very cost effective to maintain a smaller, bigger size. So, and also they need to be careful on bigger or smaller studios. They need to be careful on the cost. Cost very, how to maintain the cost. 50%. As I said before, train yourself 50% so that you can keep the cost between 15 to 25,000. See, I train every year. I create so many people, and after 3 years, most of my 50 to 60% people won't be there. If they're also, I won't increase the salary, because they have to leave the company, because I'm producing some more people, so which can fall in bracket of 20 to 25,000. So this 20 to 25,000 people, every year I create people, and they'll be moving on after 3 years. Once they reach 20 to 25, they will keep on moving. Only my 30 to 40% core team, they'll be with me. I take care of them, but 40 to 50%, they only I train and train them and give to the industry. So if I give to the industry, what happens, right? The industry won't have competition. They don't, simply give money to, so much for, for a basic level of 3 4 years experience of roto artist. So that is one way you need to. So every studio should have the 50% people moving, training and moving to the industry. That way you can keep your cost. So that's one thing I would say. And other thing, international works, if you're doing, probably, especially for the roto paint companies, after 5 6 years, the technology, right? I used to do restoration 15 years back. One of the, we have done more than, I think, around 1,100 titles in restoration in last one. We are one of the top in, but we don't claim much because we have back end orders and doing. But now, we lost 70% of our projects. The reason is the technology. Now restoration is everything automated. So before we used to do Ben-Hur and big projects. Now 70 to 80% of the projects are done in LA itself with the automated. They automatically just do it. They remove dirt and dust, and there's any fixes, bigger things they send to us. So the rotoscoping also is going to come up. The new softwares are coming up, which auto process. So 60 to 70% of it will be roto will be automated. Only 30% will left. This is going to happen in 3 4 years. So this is going to affect the outsourcing companies in a long term. So after 4 5 years, this rotoscoping automated process will come. At least 60 70% of work will done. So you see, any technology can exist 10 to 15 years. After that, you see new technologies come. So you need to be prepared for that. Of course, creative thing is something different, like paint or compositing. That is different. That is required. But especially automated process, some processes, the automation is coming up, so which is going to affect the industry. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mike, for the input.
Yeah.
So I'll move on to Ranjit. So Ranjit, I have a specific question for you. I mean, you work with a lot of studios, and so I just want to know, do any artists? I mean, I know every artist, typically, especially in India, I see that they want to work only on a X studio, which is huge in numbers and big in numbers. Which is not the case in other countries. So what is that which is probably we have to do correct as a culture or a industry, or what is that as an artist I'm okay working with a small studio? How do you change that perspective? Or how do we bring that in into the VFX artist or the animation artist?
This is a really nice question that many artists do want to work with the bigger studios rather than working with small studios. And there is a reason for that, because the bigger studios are more or less becoming corporate culture, wherein they are only focusing on the profits and profit and loss. Whereas if you want to build a culture, before starting this meeting, I had a G meet with my boss, Mr. John D. I just wanted him to help me understand, okay, if he has got any inputs for me to talk in this session. And he took out time, and he spoke to me for 2 hours, in fact. And we had a nice G-meet before this call. And that's where he told me about, okay, we need to, first of all, the creative guys should understand the business management and all of that. So even when I joined Bigstone, the idea of joining Bigstone is when John gave me like 2 hours to explain the way they expand their business, and the kind of transparency he explained me about Bigstone. I was very surprised, because no other boss in my entire life has ever gave me that much transparency that John could explain me. And that's where I was really impressed with John, and that's where I joined. So I worked with big X companies, but when I spoke to these guys, I felt, okay, this is the company that I should join, and I should grow with them. So the idea of smaller studios to get the right people on board is to create that transparency and give that certain kind of confidence for them to for them to really join hands with you and really work with you. So to get the right talent on the right place, you really need to connect with them, and connect with them like right from top management to everyone should connect with them. And there is a law of sharing. John really interestingly explained me about the law of sharing. We had one of the achievement that we had on the last month project. What happened is we delivered the best quality, and the client is impressed. We immediately incentivized people. Okay, the team which was working on that particular project was incentivized very nicely, and people felt very happy for that. And the way we are maintaining in this culture is very important. So law of sharing is very important when you want to really build up your business, and you need to give that. We are creative people. We are not just laborers. We are not just uh, the manpower which needs to be utilized for a certain kind of business. We are not preparing something which is not otherwise helpful. It is the most important job right now in COVID time. What helped people to survive in this is, to keep their mind calm and composed, is the entertainment industry. Right, everyone one is on either mobile screen or television screen or OTT, whatever different platforms, and people are just busy with all types of media. Yeah, and that's where there is so much business. But at one side we should think about business, and at one side we should think about how we manage our own people and how we take care of them. So if you are taking care of your people, they will take care of you. So that's really important. And there are multiple things. So first of all, the vision is very important as to where you want to land up, and to do that, your ethics and your values that you are building upon is very important. So when we talk about a small scale studio, it can be just two people sitting in a small place and they are building up. If you just walk around Andheri or Lokhandwala area, you will find maybe 200 plus studios, and everyone will have their different ethics and values and the way they want to grow. Someone will have just a creative vision to build up with, and someone will have just a business vision to build up with. So it depends on person to person what he wants to do in his life or in his business, and how big he wants to grow, or he never wants to grow. He is very peaceful about what he is doing. The happiness of that particular person, that businessman, is very important in terms of how he wants to grow. Yeah.
Thanks, Ranjit. That's exactly kind of the perspective I wanted to hear. I mean, good that you brought it out. So I'll actually move on to Mangesh. So this could be the last question because considering the time. So Mangesh, what I mean, as a working in a bigger studios, how can bigger studios really support these environment or ecosystem of smaller studios? Because I feel as much as the bigger studios need to exist, the smaller studios or the mid-sized studios need to exist, especially in a ecosystem in India. They play a very vital role. So how can the bigger ones support these smaller ones?
See, working in this bigger studio, or probably a corporate, definitely we need a support of a smaller studio. So basically, let me phrase it this way, that these guys are the small veins of our body, of our ecosystem. So whenever there is some kind of work which is coming in, see, any which way, a bigger studio needs a kind of support from the outside system, also from artists or some sort of prep job work to be done from outer studio or from a smaller studio. So according to this and seeing this picture, we need to have the support of these small studios. See, it depends. When we are talking small studio, it's completely depend upon the amount of work what those guys are doing, then the amount of numbers, the bid mandates what those guys are taking out of it. So yes, I definitely say that these studios are like quite important to get the work done. Where if your studio is already choked up with the work, you need someone to take care of. So these guys are all there to help us out and to move the show ahead a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you, Mangesh. So as just we are running out of time, so I'll just quickly summarize everybody's thoughts here, and then I'll give an opportunity for probably one of you to have a closing comment. So I think for the smaller studios, I think there are quite a bit of challenges, especially technology, talent, initial cost setup. But having said that, the existence of these small studios are very important to maintain the ecosystem. And for the artists as well as business people, I think having this culture of encouraging small studios is very vital to have the talent pool available and also create an ecosystem where even the artists are happier working in a smaller studio. It's not just about always being in a corporate culture. I mean, there is a lot of advantages in being a smaller studio, advantages of having that ecosystem of knowing each other and having a environment of like a old school of a small studio with a great culture, and still able to deliver high quality work. And that is definitely possible as you guys pointed, that technology today is available. It's just that how we explore it, how we utilize it. So and then obviously the smaller studios and the government has to support understanding the current cost concerns that we always have in running these businesses. So with that, I will probably end up my discussion. So anybody wants to please want to have one closing comment? Any of you, please.
Yeah, I mean, I can share one thing which is not from this industry. So basically, there is a saying from Mr. Paul Graham, which is actually one of the founders of Y Combinator, which is actually a company which helps bootstrapping startups, technology startups. And he has a very famous saying that sometimes you need to build things that don't scale, because there is this rat race of in the tech business, there is a rat race of billion users, millions of revenue, all of that. But at the same time, there are like niche startups which are doing very, very specific craft, which they are really well known for. And I think this is the model which our ecosystem also needs, because right now we are sending, like whenever we subcontract, we are sending work which is surplus. But we could look at it in a different angle where there are smaller speedboats versus the bigger ships that can actually steer faster in a different direction if you are looking at a different direction in terms of how we want to execute project. And these niche teams might be your actual artillery for executing and doing proof of concept, as opposed to steering your big organization in that direction. So if we are coexisting as a smaller ecosystem which provides all of this expertise, I believe that we can definitely sustain this in a longer run. Because I could see, as Junaid mentioned, there are multiple studios, 3-member, 4-member studios actually executing the same quality. It's not about the quantity, the same quality they're able to meet. And it's just a matter of interpolation, like making sure that these teams can work together to build something bigger. So that's something which I would conclude as a takeaway, because this is very important. If we are only trying to take away work from each other to survive, it's just a matter of time before we all sink, right? So it's very important that we understand who is good at what and take that strength all together to build the ecosystem for the entire country.
Thank you, Anup. So with that, actually, I would like to thank all the esteemed panelists for joining here and taking your time, especially on a Sunday, and sharing your thoughts and valuable inputs. And definitely, I think it's definitely useful for all the attendees here. And I would also like to thank CIA for organizing this event. It's definitely been very successful, and for all the people who have taken part, I think they definitely have something to take away from this. With that, I would close this particular panel discussion. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks again, CIA, and thanks, Praveen, for being an awesome host.
Yeah,
thanks,
Praveen.
Thanks, Praveen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
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 Thank you all the eminent panelists for taking out time and joining us on a Sunday for the exciting and amazing panel discussion. I'm sure your thoughts and ideas will help the upcoming studios and startups in the AVG sector. With the end of this engaging session, we come to the end of the second edition of CII SummitFx 2021. We thank all our proud partners in making the second edition of this year's CII SummitFx 2021 a huge success. Ministry of Information Broadcasting, our principal partner, MPL Mobile Premier League, our partner state, Department of Electronics, IT, BT, and SMT, Government of Karnataka, supported by Technicolor India, our gold partners, Accenture, Autodesk, Bark India, Dell, Geo Studios, Nickelodeon, our silver partners, Rotomaker, Times Network, our institutional partners, STPI India and IDGS, our corporate partners, Aptech, DNEG, Jet Synthesis, our online promotional partner, Animation Express, and our media partner, Media Brief. We thank all the participants for tuning in for these exciting 6 days for CII SummitFx 2021. We'll see you next year for the third edition of the CII flagship event of UVGC and immersive media sector, the CII SummitFx 2022. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining in.
Ready, steady, game! खेलो अपने फेवरेट मोबाइल गेम्स ओनली ऑन MPL. MPL, यहाँ इंडिया खेलता है.
MPL पे अपने सारे फेवरेट गेम्स खेलना शुरू करो अभी.
एक मेडल तो अटलांटा 96 में आ गया था. अगला मेडल शायद ई स्पोर्ट्स से आ जाए. जी हाँ, 2018 एशियन गेम्स में इंडिया ने ई स्पोर्ट्स में एक मेडल जीता था. 2022 गेम्स में तो और आ सकते हैं। आफ्टर ऑल यहाँ भी स्किल लगता है, टेनिस में फोरहैंड और यहाँ फोर फिंगर और थंब। अब एमपीएल को ही देख लो, कैरम हो या आर्चरी, जीतने के लिए स्किल और प्रैक्टिस दोनों जरूरी है, क्योंकि सिर्फ मैदान नया है, खेल वही।
क्या लगा वो आवाज गन की थी? नहीं, वो आवाज रिकॉर्ड टूटने की थी। गोल्ड मेडल जीतना इनकी हॉबी है। इन्हें जानते तो ये जानते। इनके ब्लेड से शार्प है ये। फर्स्ट इंडियन फेंसर है ओलंपिक्स जाने वाले। इन्हें जानते तो ये जरूर जानते। स्कूल बंक करके ट्रेन करने में गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट थे, आज कुश्ती में गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट है। इन्हें जानते तो ये तो जानते। इन्हें तो सब जानते हैं। बुल्सआई फिर से बोर नहीं होते। बचपन में टारगेट्स कच्चे आम थे, लेकिन इनका टैलेंट आम नहीं। इन्हें जानते तो ये 100% जानते। एक बार इन्हें जानकर तो देखो, इनका हुनर पहचान कर तो देखो। टोक्यो ओलंपिक्स में इनका जलवा तो देखो, आप भी फैन बन जाओगे। An initiative by the MPL Sports Foundation.
eternal searching of the soul. Without doubt, you made my life focus. You make my heart go. Oh, yeah. You make my heart go. It's not that I'm the needy kind. It's just that I heard love ain't blind. Take me now for who I am, and I will make you understand. 'Cause you make my heart go. Oh, yeah. Feel the beating of your heart and your touch upon my skin. It drives me wild when you're behind the wheel. I know you're not too sharp to satisfy the mood I'm in, but tell me, will this madness never end? Blood rushes to my head, must be something that you said. My engine roars and sparks begin to fly. No sunshine for your love, sent by angels from above. Tonight we got to get to go for mile. Woo-hoo, beep, get out of my way. No slowing down for nobody. Oh, don't stop,
We started with computers. We didn't stop at computers. We didn't stop at storage. We didn't stop at cloud. We didn't stop at wholly integrated intergalactic solutions. We kept going, working with our customers to enable the kind of technology that can guide an astronaut back to safety, or help make a hospital come to you instead of you going to it. And we didn't stop there. We're even working to make packaging that comes from waste instead of producing it. Because we saw a world that was full of challenges and ready for solutions. So when it comes to your business, you know we'll stop at nothing.
Change is all around us, shaped by technology and human ingenuity. We can make it work for you and your business.
We love to take risks. We never fear obstacles. We like to break our own records.
We are the one and only Nickelodeon. बस नाम ही काफी है.
ये निकलोडियन तो नंबर 1 से हिलने का नाम ही नहीं ले रहा.
और तो और उसके अकेले के पास 32% मार्केट शेयर है.
सोनिक तो सीधा नंबर 4 पे आ गया.
यार 2021 में तो पता नहीं और कितने कमाल दिखाएगा.
Tremendous growth and maintain the rank too.
सोनिक जूनियर का ग्रोथ तो डबल से भी ज्यादा हो गया है.
2 न्यू शो लॉन्चेस, पूरे साल न्यू एपिसोड्स, न्यू मूवीज.
Nickelodeon. बस नाम ही काफी है.